So good evening, everyone. This is an expert discussion where we have experts in different areas. So we have chefs, we have a scientist, a food scientist, we have a nutritionist, and we have wellness mentor. So this forum today, the topic of discussion is to kind of introduce the chief guest. So we have our chief guest, Jugesh Arora, Chief Chef Jugesh Arora. He's the honorary president, South Indian Chef Association, SICA. He's the honorary member of Mauritius Chef Association. He's a honorary member of Chef's Table Circle, Saudi Arabia. Jugesh I'm sorry. Jugesh has started his career in Oberoi, Mumbai, and he's been in the industry for 30 years, over 30 years, and he has won the Golden Hat Award. He's a winner of that, and he is a founder of Chef Aurora and Chef Table Audio. At present, he is doing chef consultant at various restaurants and hotels. So it's been pleasure having you as a guest of honor, sir. Thank you for being with us, Jeff. You carry a immense experience. So we would like you to be part of the panel and give us a conclusion or your idea of how we have to be in the new normal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. We have a little change. We want to start with the wellness program, but Dr. Pasupati, he is a data scientist, so he has a government call at 5:15. So we have to move Mr. Nandakumar a little later at 5:15. Sorry about that, Mr. Nandakumar.
No issues, no issues.
Thank you, thank you. So this is a panel comprises of. I am going to introduce a quick introduction of the panel. Dr. Pasupati, he is a food safety consultant and a scientist. He has 25 years of experience in specialization food safety implementation in food and hospitality industry. He is a founder of Parishan Laboratories, exclusively working in the area of food safety services. He is also a founder of Parishan Charitable Trust, and he does a lot of social activities going to rural areas and helping kids to learn about what the food testing and safety is about. He's an author of the book called Food Safety Handbook for Hospital Industry. He's designed for FHRAI, Federation of Hotel Restaurant Association. He has consulted many leading food chain of hotels, national advisor of food safety of FARI. So he is a lead expert in FSSAI, and he's a speaker and as well as a motivator. So thank you, Dr. Pasupati, for being here with us. We have Chef Kaushik. Chef Kaushik is also called as Mad Chef. He is having a culinary. He is a culinary operations officer. He runs a company called the Ettitude, and he is a celebrity chef. You might have seen his shows in JRTV, Sun TV, and other episodes. He has been covered in some of the national newspaper. He got his interest and he got passion in food and cooking at the age of 5. He has helped a lot of startup companies in the food and beverage and retail. He after the training he went with master chefs. So he's still learning to love to eat, and he has his own farm, and he lives a little far away from the city, and I'm sure he is little safe from what is happening here in the corona. And he has a large fan club following, and he is very active in Chennai Food Guide and many other food forums. So he has actually worked in multiple areas and grew up from bottom. So he has played all the roles in this industry. I welcome Chef Kaushik.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you. We have another interesting personality, Ms. Shaini Surender. She's a celebrity nutritionist. She's an author. She's an entrepreneur. She has done MSc graduate diploma in nutritionist. She is a consultant sports nutritionist, weight management specialist. She has worked with a lot of celebrities to kind of and given consulting and how to kind of balance the food and the weight. She consults sports nutritionists at Hudson Badminton Center of Excellence. She is a member of studies of Women's Christian College and Madras University. She's a former member FSSA Working Committee on Sports Supplement. Former Board of Studies Tamil Nadu, specialized in preventive and sports nutrition. She's an avid speaker and a food enthusiast, and you can see her a lot of information in Instagram. And we have another interesting chef Balamurgan. So he's from pastry side. So chef consultant and assistant professor. So he has 25 years of experience. He's an expertise in multiple cuisine, bakery, sweets, and confectionaries. He has completed and been part of 150 plus food business projects. He's a founder of Culinary Arches and chef consultant for 13 years. He has very special skills in commercial kitchens and bakery designs. He's assistant professor in Dr. MGR University, and he's also a treasurer for the Society of Indian Bakers Southern Chapter. Is Mr. Rogan there? So I'll just come back. So we have Mr. Harsha. Harsha is a foodie lover of exploring multiple eateries in the local market. His passion for ingredients and cooking is well known. He's always appreciated food industry and food chefs. An active ham radio operator connects people food interest to the respective restaurants and hotels. And he's a food taste specialist. And about me, myself, Ramesh, I'm a serial entrepreneur in 20 years of experience in both MNCs and food industry for the last 8 years. So I'm helping restaurants and hotel industry both from control optimization and as well as getting the revenue. I run 2 different companies. So let's move on to the panel discussion. So are we ready? So I will leave it to Dr. Pasupathy to start with. So let's hear from Dr. Pasupathy, please.
Good evening. Namaste to everybody. Nice meeting all of you once again. See, the good news about CoV-2 is that number 1, it is not foodborne. Number 2, it is not waterborne. And number 3, I think many of you know it, that unlike bacteria which multiplies outside, the virus doesn't multiply outside the living cell. Now, having said the good news, the bad news is that it has got 2 challenges for us. Number 1, it spreads through human-to-human contact directly and indirectly by the contact surfaces. Now, this contact surface is a very big subject because the virus is stable from 4 hours to 9 days. Now, getting into this, what happened, the Government of India initiated a process with the Bureau of Indian Standards, the Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, and the Food Safety Standards Authority of India, and created guidelines, 1.5 to 2 months ago. We all sat down and created a guideline for the nation for the food industry on how to create Suraksha store, how to create Suraksha hotels, how to create, Suraksha food processing industry, warehouse, everything. So let me just brief for the benefit of the industry as and when we open, and what should be done and what is expected to counter this. It's based on 5 basic principles. Please note down, if you can note down 5 very important principles. Principle number 1 is about hand wash. Principle 2 is respiratory hygiene. Principle 3 is social distancing. Principle 4 is critical personal hygiene care. And principle 5 is cleaning and sanitation. These are the 5 most important principles on which we'll have to move ahead post-pandemic COVID-19 in the new normal. Now, the new normal will involve a new identity in our industry called the COVID response officer, whom we can call as Suraksha Adhikari or a special officer for COVID-19. Now, we must be wondering why this person must be appointed. It can be a person nominated in the existing workforce itself. It can be a chef, he can be a quality control manager or an F&B manager or a HR manager, anybody who's reasonably empowered to take decisions, because there are 4 golden rules that the government has given for our own safety. Because the challenge is not going to be business, the challenge is going to be on 2 fronts. From the learned sources, the two biggest challenges we are going to have is, how do we create customer confidence or guest confidence for them to venture into a hotel or enter into a restaurant and eat? Number 2, how do we increase the confidence in our staff workforce? Okay, because there's a suspicion for staff. What if somebody else in my hotel is affected? Now, business will happen, but these are the 2 things that are going to be a challenge. For that, the government has given 4 important rules. Number 1, without screening, nobody shall enter the hotel, whether he's a guest or a staff or a service provider or a supplier, right? Number 2, if somebody develops fever or flu-like symptoms while they are in the restaurant, eating or working or doing anything for the restaurant, immediately they shall be isolated and not sent back home or sent back to their accommodation, but give medical assistance and then inform to the local authority. And number 3, if someone doesn't obey the conditions of pandemic COVID-19, for example, wearing a face mask, if a guest says, no, I will not wear a face mask, I will keep talking to you, I will, I don't want your staff to wear a face mask, I want to see his face, I want to give this order. I think, like we are getting into some, rough weather. So those who don't obey the COVID-19 rules, it is better to politely tell them, this is not on. And number 4, you must encourage everyone all stakeholders to come out with the information on whether they are quarantined or whether their relatives are quarantined. And these are the 4 things that are expected. I think Dr. Nandakumar will do a lot of work on this, because what is very important is to keep the staff motivated. Because it is the staff who are going to give back this confidence to the entire industry when we come back. Now, these 4 golden rules have to be obeyed. Now, making it very simple scientifically, there are only few things that we have to think as a kitchen, because now a lot of chefs call me and ask me, in the new normal, you are talking about social distancing. Many of our kitchens are so small. How do we do this social distancing? I think here is where the expertise of chefs like Chef Jugesh or Kaushik sir or Chef Bala, the luminaries here, can throw a lot of light on this. According to me, you will have to do an activity mapping and divide the kitchen into 3 activities: range critical operation, non-range operation, and pre-preparation. Now, range critical operation is a time where you cannot move the chef out of the range. He has to be in the kitchen. His place cannot be anywhere. You can't displace him out of the kitchen. Okay, somebody who's on the dosa tawa, somebody who's on the range cannot be moved out for that particular period. The non-range operations are somebody, rolling rotis or somebody doing mixing or misimbla or doing a marination, need not be in the kitchen in the same place where the range critical person is there. And the third one is, of course, pre-preparation, which is anyway mostly isolated, like grinding, washing, peeling, soaking, etc., which are pre-preparation activities. Now, if you can do this activity mapping, I think the consultants and the top people here will have a lot of job on this front, that you will have to do this activity mapping very sharply now, because the dictum is very simple. For 10 feet linear distance, not more than 3 people are allowed. So when you have to do this, then you will have to do this activity mapping on dividing the kitchen workforce into these 3 zones. The other thing that we have to understand in this food industry is, if at all there is going to be a spread of this virus through the food, it is going to happen only through the packing material. Now, this virus doesn't come through your chawal, dal, or your, asafoetida or masala powder or potato or tomato, or your chicken or fish. If it is going to, when we receive materials, we normally receive materials as perishables and non-perishables. Now, these non-perishables have 2 layers of packing. One is called primary packing, which is an individual packing of the packet, and the secondary packing is a cotton box, which is an assembly of 10 pieces of butter or 20 pieces of a particular item. Now, the secondary packing is something that is touched by innumerable people during the transport. Okay, it is packed at one point, then it is transported to the warehouse, from warehouse to the stockist, to the distributor, from distributor to the supplier, etc. Now, this is something that should not enter the hotel. On the receiving itself, you get rid of the secondary packing, then you are getting rid of 99% of the problem. Okay, that is where you will have to be very smart and sharp and put your foot down. And whatever you receive otherwise as perishables, whatever vegetables that you receive, simply wash in water. You don't have to do anything else, just to simply wash in water. That is good enough for this virus. If you have any semblance of doubt, you add 50 ppm of chlorine, which means just 4 ml of chlorine in 10 liters of water. Okay, and yet necessarily you will have to wash with 50 ppm chlorine, right? And the back of the hotel and the front of the hotel, you will have to do the sanitation. You can ask me what is the logic of it. The logic is very simple. Okay, the vehicle should have passed your car parking or scooter parking, vehicle should have gone through everything. Okay, there's a chance of that carrying over the contamination, and also at receiving area there's a very heavy contamination. You do not know after you close the kitchen what happens in front of your restaurant or back of your restaurant. Stray dogs may come, or beggars may come, or hawkers may come and sit there. Anybody can sit. So it is better you sanitize these places with 1% sodium hypochlorite, which means 800 ml of chlorine mixed in 10 liters of water. Please note down, 800 ml of chlorine mixed in 10 liters of water. Okay, and the other mantra is about hand sanitation. Hand sanitation means 70% alcohol sanitizer. Soap wash is the best. The normal hand wash soap solution is the best. Do it very frequently. Perhaps a chef has to do 12 times or 13 times in a day, right? And your service guys also have to do it. But whenever you use hand sanitizer, let it not be a gel-based sanitizer. Let it be a simple, good sanitizer, right? 70% alcohol. And, it is quite cheap now, in the sense the price can be negotiated. Like according to me, for a person per year, it will not cost more than 1,000 rupees. So it is not something, whatever we are going to face is not rocket science. So let me assure you that. Then there are two important things in the new normal that will happen in our industry. The uniform of the waiters, you will have to designate a person for clearance. Normally our practice is, this table belongs to this waiter, he will do the clearance. That is not going to be there. You are going to risk everybody if you are going to do that. Because the other critical area by which you may get the spread, God forbid it should not happen, but if you have the accident, it will happen only through the guest handling of cutlery and crockery. So you must ensure that there is one designated person for every session who does the clearance, and that person must be wearing full uniform, which means a head cover, a proper mask and a goggles, and the neck should be covered with a scarf and a full sleeve. So please understand, the uniform is not going to be off sleeves or t-shirt or anything. Till the pandemic is over, a full sleeve is a must. And the waiter who is clearing must have a glove without any doubt. And the coat must come up to the knee, a lab coat sort of a thing, or it can be a dongri, as you feel, whatever it suits the particular decor of the restaurant, please do it. But ensure you designate a person. I have another request for the food industry. In the new normal, you please rethink about your restaurant sitting arrangements. Okay, because there are a few compulsions. Number one, you will have to maintain social distance, which means the distance between one guest and the other has got to be 3 feet. You cannot allot next to next tables. It will have to be alternative tables. And suppose a group of 5 people want to dine with you, offer them a 10 chair table, so that the social distance is maintained. Okay, and don't keep anything in the table other than what the guest is desperately requesting. Remove everything in the table, because what is going to be the situation in the new normal, okay, is that you cannot keep anything on the table, because the moment you keep it, there are only two options. Either the guest uses it, or you will have to throw it in the dustbin or sanitize it completely. So instead of going through this chucker, for example, you keep a tissue holder, you keep the pepper and salt containers, you keep the sauce containers, you keep the sugar cup. Remove all that, right? Keep the table clean. As the guest is asking, you ask him, what cutlery you want, what crockery you want. You keep that, and when he asks, you give everything, but don't keep it in front. Okay, up front, because it will become very, very cumbersome for you to then clean up the restaurant. And the other important thing that the F&B service people must keep in mind is, the moment anything is cleared from the restaurant, directly it must go to the dishwash. Don't keep it in any holding area. Okay, because in holding area, there's a chance of the spread happening. So please, whatever you clear from the table directly to the dishwash. And let me just tell, the dishwash temperature must be for washing 65 to 72 degrees centigrade and for rinsing 75 to 82 degrees centigrade. Wash करने के लिए 65 to 72 degrees and for rinsing 75 to 82 degrees centigrade. Please keep it in mind. And the last but not the least that I want to say is that there are a lot of doubts about face mask. Please design the face mask for every restaurant. Don't buy it ready-made from the market. It is better to design a face mask because you will have to give each waiter or each person working in the food industry 5 or 6 masks per, 6 masks so that they maintain that, wash it in their own home and bring it. Because if you send it to any laundry, it will have a big mix-up. Ramesh's face mask may go to Jugesh, Jugesh's face mask may go to Dr. Nandakumar. Let us avoid this confusion. It is better to, design a face mask, and the face mask must have 3 layers. An inner layer of cotton, a middle layer of something, and the outer layer, preferably synthetic. Because in synthetic surface, the holding of the virus is less stable. Okay, and it is easy to wash. And the mask must be of a minimum size of 3 inches tall and 4 inches broad. 3 inches tall and 4 inches broad to cover the face, chin and nose properly, the nose, mouth and chin properly. You must have 2 ropes on it, one going above the ear, one going below the ear. And there should be 3 folds on the mask and all of them must be facing downwards. Jo mask ke pleats hai, mask il irukkum madippugal keel nokki irukka vendum. Okay, so that is the most important thing. So these are the fundamental rules, and as much as possible, don't try to give your leather pouch or something like that for leather wallet for giving the bill. Avoid all those things. Have a sanitized acrylic or a plastic tray which is easy to wash and clean, and just hand over the bill without directly giving it. Let the guest place the cash or a card in that, and you take and use it with the glove in the hand, of course. If you are using card machine, please sanitize it with 70% alcohol, and encourage digital payment as much as possible. Avoid this direct payment. Remove the menu cards. Have a display TV to display the menu or some other way of display. Okay, or get their mobile number when they reserve and then pass on your menu for that particular day. There are so many ways of communication now. You can definitely do that. And because a physical menu card is going to be very, very dangerous, don't do that. And remove all placards and other things. And these are the very simple advices. I'm not going to repeat the whole food safety class here. But post COVID-19, let me assure you, something tells me that the Indian hospitality industry will come back beautifully, because as a nation, we have fared much, much better than the so-called developed countries. And definitely our hospitality industry will, if they take all this precaution, then the world will wake up to the fact that the Indian food is not only the Indian food is good, which already is very good and very well appreciated throughout the globe. They will also understand that our hospitality industry is measuring up to the new demands of the pandemic response. So this response is going to turn a lot of things in our favor, and I'm looking forward for the day. I'm not at all disappointed. The kind of reception I'm having in every webinar for this is so encouraging that my food fraternity is ready to respond to this, and they are geared up. My best wishes to everyone. Thank you.
Excellent points, Dr. Pasupathy. Very excellent points, and these are all very valid. And let's see practically how it works. I mean, because you told from head to toe there is a full coverage, but practically how does it work inside the kitchen? We covered everything, but the people standing in the heat, we have to kind of
No. Kitchen, there is no head to toe. Only for clearance designated person. The kitchen is the normal uniform.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yes.
Please go ahead. Kitchen is normal uniform. So let's hear from Chef Kaushik and Bala. So what is their plans and what is their hygiene factor they're considering for the food preparation? Chef Kaushik?
First, I want to say thanks, Pasupathy sir, amazing stuff. I had a lot of questions. You already answered them. Okay, so I understand the necessary for the front area, back area sanitization. I understand ingredient cleaning. Certain questions I did have for you, and then I want to start with what I wanted to say. Like, for instance, we have eggs, okay, and they come to us in trays. I can understand washing of vegetables, the meat, all of those. Eggs can't be washed too often. I mean, they kind of, you can't wash and keep. So, what do you recommend as a procedure for eggs?
Sir, eggs have to be washed and dried. That is the procedure. And many hotels are already washing eggs and keeping them dry and keeping them in the egg trays. What's the best practice is that our sanitized egg trays must be used. We should not allow the supplier's egg trays to enter the hotel. The moment the eggs come for supply, put it into water and use either 50 ppm and then wash it and then dry it, okay, for some time, and then take it inside. Nothing will happen to the egg. It will be safe. So that is what it is. If you want to dry it fast, have a sanitizer or just a washed cotton cloth and keep the eggs. It will dry very fast. So that's it, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Then one last question. See, what I'm understanding is we have control over all procedures, which from receiving, from the preparation of the food, serving it to the customer, and so on and so forth. But I've heard that paper is the reason for transmission. It stays, the virus stays the longest. Now, for instance, taking pizza. Pizza is usually put in a cardboard box. So I'm not asking from the point of view of the restaurant, but in the point of view of the customer. So as a consumer, when I receive a pizza in a cardboard box, how do I handle it in such a way that I'm not going to get the virus?
Okay, it's a very good question. I think that's in the doubt mind of so many guests like you. See, the one great interesting fact is whatever you receive, if you quarantine for 24 hours, you are safe almost. So I don't think the carton boxes of pizza companies are made, ready-made. They are, bought before 3 months or 4 months or 2 months, and they are there outside. So if you quarantine any cotton box, then the spread of this virus is that much reduced. So that way it is fine. But as sir, you rightly pointed out, the suspicion is on how do they sanitize the carry bags when they deliver, the home delivery when they do, right? How do they sanitize the interior of the bag and the exterior of the bag? Because they might have parked their vehicle and gone to give a delivery. In the meantime, some other person on the road would have touched the motorbike, touched the carrier box. So that is going to be a bit of a problem, and that is where the spread is happening, right? In a few incidences. So I think already these companies are working out new SOPs for that. And I see now, for the past few days that all these delivery boys are having a sanitizer attached to their bag, and they are frequently sanitizing their hand. And that's a very fantastic move that is happening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Because one of the reasons for that question was we're saying that the virus is getting quite viral because of delivery. And the other part of it, the final question I had for you was, we recently noticed articles about how the coin-paid market has got 100 cases and so on. So we don't know what is true, but is it possible for us to get infected from the source of the vegetable? I mean, what could have happened wrong there?
Nothing, sir. There is only one simple thing. That the onions come from Nasik and Maharashtra. The onions came, and then unfortunately, without the permission of police and hiding from everybody, the market had its own barbers working. I am told that the barber shops are open inside the market, and there was a cross spread from that. It has got nothing to do with the vegetables or fruits. And that is why the police immediately acted on it. The police immediately understood it, or else it would have been much, much worse. And they contained it beautifully. The commissioner kept on negotiating with them, with the police department, and they made a beautiful negotiation with all these vendors. And that is where we displaced them to, I think they displaced them to Madavaram and Perangudi. And they took this beautiful initiative. I'm told today, there are orders to close. To sanitize it further. It was just from human to human contact. It was got nothing to do with vegetables. Yes, sir.
That's very clear. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So, moving forward, basically, Ramesh, I mean, what I'm noticing and what I've taken out of what has been happening the last few days, yes, this was not planned. This is quite.
I can't unmute because it says.
Sorry.
No, Chef, go ahead.
Yeah. So, being the case, it's a matter of what we're going to do from now and what we have to do to make sure that we come back. Because not just as an industry, I'm noticing that a lot of people are going to go back to work. They're going to be working harder than earlier. All the more reason and requirement for food to come at a source where it is going to be safe to consume and have convenience. So yes, as a restaurateur, as a consultant, as a chef, things that I'm looking at putting out on the menu. I'm noticing that people are saying my audio is not clear. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Chef.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay. I think for those people who the audio is not clear, maybe they need headset. So coming back to what it is, I see a requirement. I see a lot of people wanting to order a gravy, but they make the roti at home, a dal, and have the chawal at home. Primarily because it's going to become a regular feature that they're going to do, and they want to save money and to have some component of making food at home. So keeping that in mind, I think that is something I would recommend to all chefs, to all restaurateurs, to have a very different menu from earlier, which is going to allow for regular ordering, okay, and not necessarily with the kind of richness of food that would be had on an occasional basis, but also include items on the menu which will be consumable on a daily basis. For instance, most restaurants would not think of khichdi. It's not an item that can be garnished or put out very well, but it's an item we can consume on a regular basis. So I would strongly recommend that the future menus have to be concise. It should be something that is easily where you can make a choice. You cannot have a choice of 4 varieties of biryani. But the idea is that if you were to choose, we choose fast. So like Dr. Pasupati said about the menu cards coming down on the format, I would recommend that, similar to like what Zomato and other platforms are doing, you could actually pre-order your food before you walk into the restaurant. You book a table. So I know 5 of you are coming and I need to give you a 10-seat table. If I need to shift or set, I set. And then you have pre-booked what you're going to be eating. So it gives me sufficient time to prepare and then serve you. And even if you're going to be serving in the restaurant, why use plates and cutlery when you can use disposable? I mean, it's something that should be considered, because if you can serve it where the consumer can eat it, and that whole process is just going to be bagged with a person wearing gloves and discarded, I think that's going to save a lot of time and effort for everybody. Okay, so that's one thing I understood from what Dr. Pasupati said. Again, when it's coming down to menus, as chefs, we love seeing large menus. It gives us work to do. But keeping in mind the fact that we're going to be a much smaller workforce for economic reasons, and because of the social distancing we need to practice, the items need to be made better, understandable, and easily accessible. So smaller menus, local produce. I don't think we are going to be finding exotic ingredients and finding sourcing and getting them from international sources. So a lot of those are going to change the way menus are going to be made. And I see that. And quite open for questions. If anybody wants to know something.
So, Chef, you are saying that we'll stick on to the signature dishes of individual restaurant.
Not necessarily. What I'm saying is, yes, what you're saying, stay with that. I'm not saying that a South Indian restaurant should serve continental food. But what I am saying is, start getting smart with the menus and creating items that are capable of being ordered on a very regular basis. For instance, you can eat biryani every day, but it's not going to be healthy. Okay. So I would recommend some items and choices which will help the consumer build immunity, ordered on regular basis, simply because once we are done with the lockdown, people are going to be eating a lot more. They're going to eat a lot more food outside simply because they won't have time to cook. And I'm assuming and understanding that when you have to stand in a queue for groceries, for vegetables, you spend a lot of time doing that. So only that is what I had as a takeaway.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I'll take a minute to welcome Rogan Chabil from Novotel. Hi, Rogan.
Hi, how are you doing? Hi, sorry. Took a little time to get some text sorted out. Apologies.
No problem, no problem. So we have recording this session so we can share with all the audience and other people who are not able to join. Not a problem. So we were discussing about the hygiene factor. Dr. Pasupati have told us different points to kind of make sure like hygiene stays inside and outside the kitchen. So Kaushik covered a bit. So now let's hear from Chef Bala. So being a pastry chef, we love cakes, pastries, and it's not hot. I mean, not many times it is not hot. It's little cold. So what would you advise on the pastries, Chef Bala, and salads?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it was a wonderful information from Chef Kaushik and Dr. Pasupati, first of all. And even I have got a lot of doubts, and I would like to share the information that I feel it's worth and it is right. And I have some clarifications that I need from Dr. Pasupati as well. When it comes to bakery, sweets, and savory products, unlike the restaurant foods, some of it we need to shelf it up. We need to keep it in the shelves in the pastry shops or the sweet shops, traditionally in especially in South India or wherever we see. So the product has to lay there for a while, and it will be wrapped in a cover or some bags or whatever casing it has, and that is that. And next thing is like the client or the guest will come and they will get it from the shelf, and they are going to take home. So how to handle this situation, how safe it is to take this kind of a product home, or how to deal with it, sir? This question is for Dr. Pasupati.
Yeah, thanks, Chef Bala. The directive from the government is that all bakery shops even now can, give takeaways and do the displays also, but there should be a 3 feet gap between the display and the guest. They must put a small rope, even if it is a roadside bakery. They are supposed to put a rope or a small chain or an acrylic partition where normally the people will lean on the counter and order. You would have seen in the roadside bakeries that there's a habit that the people lean on the counter and order. Now that leaning is not allowed and it has got to be covered. You can put things on display, but it has got to be covered with acrylic or with the glass, and the minimum distance must be 3 feet. So otherwise, shelving anything above the height of the human being or in the other places is not a problem. It is about only the display counters which is an issue, or sometimes the snacks are also displayed in the bakeries, as he rightly told, and some sweets also. So Chef Bala, that is the directive. Otherwise, nothing is dangerous. This is not airborne. So bakery is very, 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 very safe if you just do this covering for the display, sir. Yeah.
Okay. So can we also take it this way, that the sweets, savories, and the pastries has got its own sweet and spice content and salt content that will some way is not a very safe ground for the virus. Can we take it that way?
No, this virus is not at all foodborne. So you can be very, very happy about it. The only way by which it can spread is if somebody sneezes or coughs on the cake or item in display, and that is where it has got to be covered. So as long as it is covered and the guest is about 3 feet away, there's a very little probability that this virus will go. This virus by nature in the summer is extremely weak. See, the virus doesn't stand very stable above 24 degrees centigrade. So a bit of advice, if you are having a confectionery, AC bakery or AC sweet shop, make the temperature 24 to 30 and humidity, relative humidity in the AC to be above 40. Okay, that's a directive from government. 24 to 30 degrees AC temperature and relative humidity in the air condition above 40 to 70. Then you are safe. The virus is not at all still. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was nice.
Chef Bala, you have any other question, Chef Bala?
Yes, another situation, when we talk about hygiene, normally we need to talk about personal hygiene, the food hygiene, and the environmental hygiene. To an extent, we can tackle the situation of the food hygiene and the environmental hygiene that is prevailing inside the kitchen. So I think the restaurants or the bakery, sweet shop will face challenges when it comes to monitor the staff movement, because the staff has to go to their accommodation and they have to go outside the premise and they need to come back the next day. Beyond measuring the standard temperature, body temperatures, and things like that, we understand that to an extent it provides solution. But is there any other more efficient manner that we could monitor these staff or have some other solution that we have, so that we are quite safe, and every guest is safe, and even the owners are safe, that we have some virus free or infection free staffs that we have on board the restaurant or the bakery.
See, you are asking a very, very valid question. I said that that is going to be the challenge for the future, not the business, as you rightly pointed out. The thing is, lot of training has to happen. There are many hotels now which are now having occupancy, are housing their guests within the hotel for the time being, because the banquets are not there, to monitor them very carefully with social distancing and all the regime, okay, for the time being. But I don't think it is going to be a long-lasting solution. But HR managers and the hotel owners have to now seriously think about what are our staff accommodations and how do we create a culture there. It is going to be more a cultural change than a physical, control over anything. So, like what Chef Kaushik told, we are all taken by surprise. Nothing is planned, starting from the President of America to the last man in the world. Nobody is ready for this, right? We are all taken by surprise. I hope the cultural change is brought in with a lot of training and leaders like you.
Okay, thank you. Fine.
So,
And are we having any set procedures or SOP, especially for apart from our regular FOSTAC? Is there anything special for this COVID situation that is available online?
So that is what I concisely told you, and FSSA has issued a guideline which I will share with you, and with the help of Mr. Ramesh, I will share the presentation based on the new guidelines to all of you and to all the participants who are in this particular conference. I will do that through the through the office of Mr. Ramesh Subramanian.
Thank you, Dr. Pasupathy.
Yeah.
So now coming back to the hygiene, people are already hygiene specific. So Shiny might have a lot of challenges already, and she might have given a nutritionalist diet. Now picking up the ingredients and making sure on top of, okay, this is what good to eat for your healthy, she also has to tell, okay, it is safe to eat. So you have anything around that, Shiny?
Consumer, I don't know when. Are you able to hear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, as a consumer, we are all waiting to get back to restaurants. But of course, there is also this huge fear and scare and insecurity. So what as a consumer we would expect from all of you here would be to assure that all the safety protocols are being followed. And if there could be some sort of a way in which you communicate to the public that these are the things that we do, the kitchen is sanitized this way, these are the precautions that we are taking, it will give a lot more assurance for people to come in and rather take. And another thing that I notice is the trend. I did check with few dietitians. We are on WhatsApp connected across India. So I asked a bunch of dietitians whether they would want to go back to the restaurant. They said they'd rather be cautious, wait until things kind of clear up. But another thing is also the takeaway. So as nutritionists, when I asked them, they all said we'll be happy to order something from a cloud kitchen. So it looks like that is going to be quite happening, and that's one. And nutritionists usually work very closely with a lot of people who supply subscription meals, so healthy foods. So we have Lean On Me, and then Roost Food Concepts, and a whole lot of Grow Fit kind of a thing. So Chennai has all of this. So across India, we do have these kind of joints which have subscription meal plans, and they give away good healthy food. So healthy practices, sanitation, food hygiene, and all of this, if this is being displayed as even when they market or publicize, advertise, I think that will give a lot of assurance. This is one thing. I remember long back, years ago, at least around 12, 15 years back, been to Vijayawada, and they had the system of curry point. Curry point is where when people get off the bus, or else if somebody has gone shopping or wherever, they just go there, and these places will have veg, non-veg dishes. They'll have a sabzi, dal, veg, non-veg curries, piping hot, served in the evening. So you could just go there and buy that directly, and all that you need to do is just go home and prepare the rotis or make a idli and dosa and then just eat it. Because the importance of immunity and eating healthy, all that has been emphasized so much, and having the best possible immunity or the resistance to infection can be done by exercise, sleeping on time, and eating right. That's what I've been telling in all the webinars all through March. So, and immunity doesn't develop, overnight. You'll have to do this over a period of time, and eating healthy foods every single day. So every meal is going to matter. And I think as dietitians across the country, even the president of Indian Dietetic Association has actually had a presentation. I'll share that with you, because she has beautifully communicated what are the foodstuffs that we need to include on a daily basis. And desi food, local foods, the kashayams, the khadas, and using turmeric, ginger, garlic, all this is very important. So the migrant workers you have, and you must be offering even accommodation to the ones, all your staff. I think it is also very important that they have better resistance power. So I was talking to Chef Kaushik, and he mentioned how these boys do not eat vegetables at all. They are much more happy having a non-veg gravy. They mix it up with rice and have it, and they have quite a lot of rice. That's what they do. So if you're taking care of a whole bunch of staff yourself, I think you should lay down rules and ensure that they eat healthy. Eat the local vegetables, and then simple things, very cost effective things. If that can be provided for your staff, I think that will really make a big difference. Because besides getting trained on hygiene practices and all that, if they are taught the importance of eating right, so that they can maintain or raise their immunity, because none of the employer is going to appreciate if a guy doesn't turn up for work after incurring huge losses, or after a big break. If somebody is coming back to work, and you wouldn't want them to fall sick and then go on loss of pay, or rather it's bad both ways. So the employer as well as the employee are not going to be happy about the same. So it is best that they eat. So things like even the sesame seed chicky, or it's a peanut chicky, or the potukadle, simplest thing. So you can still get protein through dals. That's the cheap and best source. Local fruits like bananas, papaya, watermelon, any of that which is available in season, if they could just be given that to eat, that will also be good. Hydration, because it's summer that we are dealing with. Okay, so liquid, so lemon juice. Okay, more than the tea and coffee, buttermilk and lemon juice. The probiotic, then the buttermilk, and then the lemon juice would be much easier, to consume. And also, if they could be taught to just choose, because when they get back to their rooms, they cook and eat, right? So it could be just a dal or something. At least they could have some cucumber, carrots, and tomato slices, at least that bit every single day. So if this could be driven to your staff as part of your training protocol, I think that will really go a long way. And Nellika, that is gooseberry, which is so cheap. So I think lemon and gooseberry are also going to be quite helpful. So that's another thing. And if they want to eat snacks, so quite often, even in March when the lockdown started, like I went to the store, I saw a gentleman with a nice big pot belly ordering for soft drink, 1 liter of soft drink, another sugary beverage, And I was just thinking, by the time the lockdown is lifted, his waist size is going to expand further. Okay, so this was my concern. I was like, he could have just avoided that and probably brought fresh fruits which was available in the same store. So how do we drive this so that each and every person in this country kind of understands the importance of eating right, and you don't need to spend too much money for this? Yeah. So I think if this could be done, so simple things like fermented rice at home, that is your pariya sadam, that kanji can be taken. And also you have the pudina chutney sandwiches, or the potukadle urunde, or the maladu that we call it, sundal, or the kolkata, or the modak. I think all these things are very simple, and I think it will be good to just educate all our staff that just eat right, stay healthy, because your productivity is going to be better. You don't have to miss out on work. You wouldn't catch an infection or a fever too fast. And we're all just waiting to get back to hotels, dine out, and all that. So really hoping that the hospitality industry is going to bounce back much faster. And that's the sincere wishes to all of you out here.
Thank you, Shani. I mean, that was wonderful. So yeah, we are all waiting when the kitchen will open. So given that you said about a lot of new things already in the last 1 year, if you see, there's a lot of things started coming up, like Payasura and the old rice and all those things started coming up. So is this actually the speech by Shiny giving the chef, there is an innovation, I mean, a lot of innovation on the food from an immune perspective? Is it new dishes going to come in the restaurants from an immune perspective? Is it like immunity foods will be a separate category of menu? So,
yes.
Chef Jugesh, you want to kind of answer that, like because. I have unmuted you.
Okay. So it would be really helpful if one could also think in that perspective in those lines, because we dietitians give recommendations and there are people who really have to source food outside. They might not have the facility. It could be a PG accommodation, okay, or they could be eating from their workspaces, or it could be a campus, any of these places. So I think this is one aspect to consider. And immune boosting food, yes, why not? And think in that direction too. I think there's going to be a paradigm shift in the way we look at going out and eating food.
Chef Kaushik, yeah, please.
I actually have a question. I think what Shani said is amazing. And, she said you could actually have a lot of wellness happening with tasty items like kadala urundai and so on. I've always, for some reason, thought eating healthy did not have to be eating tasty. And I'm really appreciative of what he's saying. And I'm going to go offline, catch up with Shani and understand a lot more of these things. I mean, kadla mithai, I was under the impression was not good for you, but what he's saying makes absolute sense. Thank you, Shani. I think that was amazing.
Thank you.
I think you have given food for thought for new innovation of menu items.
Correct.
Chef Pala, would you be interested, like, kind of researching on bringing some immune food on the pastries?
Yes, definitely. When it comes to immunity-based food or the food that is not commercially available these days, I think already a lot of research from the sweets and bakery shops down south, they have been calling me asking for recipes based on karupatti, the jaggery, whole wheat, and the ragi, all those extra cereals that is beyond the normal varieties and variants. Of course, during the years to come, a lot of recipes will be derived from the native peoples with the kind of ingredients they have into the cuisine that they already have. All the long last cuisine might revive a little bit, and it might have some novel touch to it and get into the restaurants as well. I think there is no doubt in it. That's what
If I may interrupt, Mr. Ramesh,
please, sir.
I think what is can be a great game changer for us is, like in this particular season in pandemic COVID-19, the black jeera, instead of giving the shorties or starters, just give black jeera in a sanitized small cotton, towel, or just black jeera in the hand. If somebody just rubs it with the hands, so that the heat is generated, just a few pieces, and then, breathe it. Then it is a great cure for your, respiratory illness diseases. Okay.
That's really interesting.
Like our government trying to give you your Kapasura Pudini, right? It is working wonders, right? The response is so good, which the government is giving. So I think what rightly Shiny Madam pointed out, I think we have to rethink on our starters. I think I'm very happy Chef Kaushik had a spontaneous response. But the only thing is we must ensure that these katla mithais or whatever it is not made up of liquid glucose.
You're right.
They are made up of genuine jaggery and preferably jaggery, which is original. So that is most important, because the commercial chickies are, liquid glucose, which will undo whatever this is done. Thank you. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
No, absolutely, it's a valid point. I'm even thinking about some the kadala mithai being semi-prepared, and somebody heats it in the oven and then eat it, so they get the confidence. I heated in the oven and it is so baked very fresh. So kind of innovation on the food. So Harsha comes from a kind of a very good family of food. His mother being a chef. So, Harsha, you have any inputs with respect to the home chef, what to cook and how to cook? Anything related to that?
Yeah, good evening to all of you, and good to hear from Dr. Pashupati, from Chef Jugesh, Chef Kaushik, Chef Bala, Shiny, and also Rohan. Doctor, I want to know, as a consumer and a food enthusiast and a food taster, how will I know the food will be safe when I go and eat the restaurant after the post-COVID, doctor?
Sir, you can be absolutely sure because the food is not going to be a transmitter of the disease. So that way you can be 100% sure that it is not foodborne. You will have to only ensure that the person who is serving you is sanitized or wearing a glove, and you are having a clean plate. And if you have still doubt on that, just take the blood, go to the wash basin and wash it with simple water. That is more than enough, and you will be safe. Because the porcelain doesn't carry the virus for any number, even for minutes. So a simple wash will do, right? So you are absolutely safe. You don't have to doubt the food or water at all. There are rumors that it is coming through food and water. Please understand, it is not foodborne, it is not waterborne, and don't believe in any rumor. There is not a semblance of evidence that it is coming through food or water. So be absolutely safe, sir. Asha, sir.
Thank you, Dr. So, Ramesh.
Dr. Pasupathy, for the producers that is coming in and the groceries that are coming in, so when we are debating with several restaurant owner and chef, so everybody is actually saying that maybe I will get the groceries and keep it groceries, buy in bulk, keep it dry for 2-3 days without doing any touching of the end product, and then take it inside the inventory. And similarly for the producers, wash it with 50 ppm, 100 ppm, depending on the fruits. So do the restaurant have to plan for buying in bulk, wash it, keep it for some time, or because they used to do like there are a few hotels and restaurants, they buy fresh vegetables every day. So is that trend going to change?
No, there's no. You don't have to be afraid at all about the perishables. You can just wash it, and that's more than enough. And if you have got any doubt, you can wash it with 50 ppm chlorine.
50 ppm.
It is only about the secondary packing that you will have to be worried about. So you can do away with the secondary packing if you don't want to buy in bulk. If you can afford to buy in bulk, you quarantine it for 24 hours. But even that I will say only as a second option. So you don't have to get panic at all about this. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Doctor. Kaushik, you have anything to ask or say? Jeff?
His phone is muted.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The question you were asking, Ramesh, basically as restaurants, as hotels, we do stock rice. Okay, we keep substantially good amount of time simply because of the scale of the economy. Rice is bought in 100 kg bags, so on and so forth. Vegetables are not bought for the day; they are bought 1 day in advance. So usually there is a lead period simply because we don't want to be caught at the last minute because we need to pre-prep it. So there is a lead time, okay, and I'm understanding that whatever the vegetables, there is not much change in terms of procedure from earlier. It's just that we need to follow good receiving headlines, which FSSAI is anyway mandated. I don't think that, am I right, doctor? I mean, we follow the same guidelines.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Schedule 4 covers everything. So there is nothing more to add, not much to add, sir, apart from whatever I added. That's it, sir.
Which makes absolute sense. So what we need to be concerned about is not the receiving or the preparation as much as the serving and the human contact, which is a huge relief. I'm feeling so comfortable at the end of all this because I'm realizing that even as a person in the industry, I had a lot of wrong assumptions, and I really want to thank Dr. Pasupathy for this. I think you really kind of opened my eyes. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you so much.
Can anybody pick up this question as come from a group? So how do we handle salads?
No, number one is that salads have to be, these vegetables which are for salads have to be washed with 50 ppm chlorine, if they are not going to be peeled. And, anyway, peeling salads will have the peeling things like cucumber will have their own natural cover. You don't have to worry, right? But anyway, giving it a last minute wash or a 5% salt solution wash is wonderful. You can wash it with salt and then wash it with water. That's more than enough. But for the time being, the general advice is you do not know how somebody is going to handle it, because the person who is handling the salad is very important. He should have disposable gloves and sanitized hands. So, and the hygiene of the cutting board. So if you don't want to take chances in an unknown hotel, it is better to, get into the cooked salad category. Okay, say boiled vegetables, etc. that kind of a salad. But fresh salads also is absolutely no problem. I've been taking salads in this season. Luckily, till today, I'm not a corona patient. So,
I have a question, Dr. Pasupathy. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
Mr. Ramesh, is that fine?
Yeah, please go ahead, Srini ma'am.
Okay. So there were times when clients have asked, like, if I buy a loaf of bread, what do I do? How do I sanitize it? Or even a semia packet or anything which comes with a nice cover, right? So when you go to the market and bring something like that, how does one sanitize? Another thing is a lot of people have been using soda, baking soda, vinegar, salt, turmeric. So what is your advice, doctor?
Baking soda, vinegar are all not needed for washing at this point of time. If you are suspicious about something at home, just use a pinch of turmeric or a pinch of salt. That's more than enough. Because once again, this commercial glacial acetic acid, which is called vinegar, basically you will find that if you test it, that there is no vinegar in it. Okay, so it is better not to venture into that. And no, salt is something that you can touch with your tongue and know that it is salt. So better you use that which is more assuring for the homemaker. And there is no need for sanitizing these bread packets because there is absolutely no problem with that primary packing. The secondary packing is the suspect normally. Okay, and if you are still doubtful, it is better that you use a scissor and take the cover off and throw the cover, right? And transfer the bread loaf into there are so many Tupperware containers, now you can put them there and handle it. So as simple as that. And as far as semia is concerned, it's only 180 grams normal packet or 200 grams. I think that also can be immediately decanted by using a scissor and washing your hands. And that's all. So in a second, nothing will happen. Absolutely don't be worried about it. Just wash your hands, handle the packet and throw the packet into the dustbin and start handling. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Chef Jugesh, you have handled so many big kitchens in India and abroad. So how do you prepare to handle this situation from a commercial perspective where the food cost needs to be maintained at the same time there is more hygiene factor coming into the kitchen?
See, normally most of the hotels, they practice the hygiene. We always follow the HACCP system right from receiving up to the garbage disposal. So it is very, very easy for the 5-star hotels and star hotels. It's not much difficult. But unfortunately for smaller restaurants, I don't think it is possible for them because of their space constraint. They don't have that much of liberty or of space where they have a separate receiving, separate vegetable cutting area, butchery or whatever it may be. There it is difficult for them to handle and they need to take care of their personal hygiene and the food standards. Otherwise in 5-star deluxe hotels, they have their standards, they have their recording of each and every temperature is controlled very correctly. The receiving has proper way of receiving the fruit and vegetables. Meat is handled properly. The staff hygiene is taken the thorough thing. Unfortunately, for outdoor catering and for the smaller restaurant, it becomes difficult because they have only one small area. As doctor said, the distance between each staff in smaller restaurant will be a difficult task. But for 5-star hotel, they will bounce back. As doctor said, it is not foodborne disease. It's not foodborne viruses, not airborne, not foodborne. So hotels are closed because of personal hygiene and the guest distance. Otherwise, hotels were not supposed, because these things are because of the air condition and the distance. It is not very difficult for hotels to bounce back once the things are under control.
Thank you, Chef. Do you also see there is going to be resistance in people coming into like smaller hotels because they are not aware of what are the measures being taken?
No, people need to be more careful where the smaller hotels need to rework on the menus. They cannot have large, big book size of menu in hotels. They have to reduce the size of menu, smaller hotels I'm talking about. Even the bigger hotels, for next 6 months, I don't see the 2 or 3 restaurants running in one hotel. They have to run only with one coffee shop or one open air restaurant will be more popular rather than the air conditioned restaurants. And the buffet need to be shut down totally, because in other countries you have sneeze guards on the buffet, but in India it's not compulsory. I think Dr. Pashupati will take a note of this and will definitely make a point in with FSSI that they have to have a sneeze guard on buffet if they are using it. Apart from that, the hot food, when the guest takes the hot food themselves, they touch the ladles, and that will be a big problem. Salads and dessert, definitely we can serve in smaller portion so the guests can take it from there. But hot food, unless and until you order from the kitchen, it is going to be very difficult for them. I just wanted to add one thing with what doctor said, with the clearing person who takes the dish from the clearing things from guest to the dishwash area. We have to have a designated area where a sink tank with chlorine or soap solution, where they have to immediately soak the cutlery in the tank before washing it, so it doesn't lie on the table for a long time.
Just a point to add before I leave for the next meeting. Sorry for interrupting Chef Jugesh. Chef Jugesh, I forgot to mention in my opening remark that the government of India has completely banned buffet for the time being. And even if there were to be a buffet, the buffet will have a minimum distance of 3 feet between the guest and the buffet. There's by a way of rope or a guard, and it will not be handled by the guest. The guest cannot touch the buffet. It will be purely for display reasons, and our trained staff will only handle. It will not be touched by guest, and that is the rule for the present time, and that is how the things are planned. The panelists and the viewers must pardon me. I'm just leaving for the next meeting.
Doctor, 1 second, just one
yes.
more thing. Even after when we start the buffet later stages as well. So we have to make this sneeze gas compulsory for the buffet, because in India it is not compulsory. It's not necessary, not
Definitely
mandatory.
We will add this point, and it is a wonderful point. And I'll recommend it to government. I will definitely add on. And the chefs through another forum must not shout at me that I've added another point.
No, sir. Thank you, Dr. Pashupati.
We'll have this video. Doctor, thank you so much. Thank you for your valuable time, and even at this crucial time, you are supporting the government and you're coming to this platform and helping all of us here. We have a few questions from the audience and the other people, so we want to email you or talk to you and then respond back to them. Would it be fine with you later?
100%. I'm always open for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Really.
Thank you. Panelists,
Thank you,
please
doctor.
don't mistake me. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you,
Doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. I will now leave the meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chef Kaushik, you were about to say something when Chef Jugesh was talking about the buffet. You are on mute, Chef.
Sorry?
Chef Kaushik is talking, Chef Jugesh.
Sorry to interrupt you, but what I think is, along with all the procedures we are following, one of the questions that Ramesh is asking you, do you see that we need to educate the customer about what we're doing? I think it is very mandatory that we have some kind of a certifying authority before we are reopened. Any restaurant or hotel or whatever, any food service industry should be certified that they are following the procedures and they are being allowed to open. Because if we don't have that, then what there is in the consumer's mind that a place is open, is the food safe or not? Can I eat or not? Like today, I have learned so much from everybody here. I think that knowledge has to be put out where people are told that food is not the villain. It is the social distancing that needs to be maintained. So when the restaurants or all of these are open, okay, my humble submission that if there is some way that some body can certify that it is safe to eat at that place, and there is some publicity given to the fact that it is displayed in a prominent location, maybe at the entrance door, like we have a halal certificate, this place is safe to consume food at, has been certified to follow the procedures, and I think that will really help.
Chef, I would like to add here. Most of the restaurants and hotels have licenses. The licenses are always given after the inspection of each and every point. Unfortunately, certain hotels and certain restaurants don't follow those practices. The executive chef and the training manager plays a very important role to train the people, they train the staff, train everybody so that they have to maintain the pakka hygiene standard. That's the only way out. Otherwise, government has provided the license. The without license, no hotels can run off. That's why we have FSSAI license system now.
Chef Bala, you raised your hand, Chef.
Yeah. Even I have a feel that, say for instance, like any other bacteria that were in the food and that gets ingested into human body, it is creating problems and things like that. And it is very clear that this COVID virus cannot sustain in a surface that is very acidic or very salty or very sweetish or very alkaline. When it comes to food, I think it is very clear that all the food that is being prepared will have some sort of spice to it or flavonoids to it or esters to it or kind of natural elements that is created during the process of cooking. When it comes to even a sweet has a lot of sweetness or a spicy food will have a lot of spiciness. Unless or otherwise it is very raw or very neutral in pH, I think the virus cannot sustain. I think we need to have a clear guideline like how they did it with other surfaces. They should clearly state this factor by the government or something like that, stating that the virus cannot be in the food because it is acidic, it is very salty, or it is having a lot of spices into it. And I think it need to be very clear to the public instead of straight away saying that it is not a foodborne virus or something like that. I think we need more clarity with detailed description and analytics data that need to be projected. This will safeguard the food industry, I believe. How's your opinion, Chef Kaushik?
Totally on, Bala. What you're saying, wait, some kind of publicity and visibility to the consumers that they can eat food. Yeah, it's required, I think, and coming not from the restaurant themselves, but from the governing body, saying that it is comfortable, it is acceptable to eat food. Because when water activity level is zero, the bacteria cannot survive. And this is an airborne virus. Okay, even for us as people in the field, there was a fear. But I think for general public, it has changed. And while there, I actually have a question, but I'm not too sure if I should address it. The question is, we have covered restaurants, we're talking hotels, we're talking cafes, we're talking bakeries, but another very, very important part of the F&B industry is the pub, is the alcohol. Do we see any future for anything on these lines? I mean, I'm asking as a consumer, do you see that there is a probability of pubs, of liquor license locations, even having anything? You could order for a delivery of a drink. Okay, they are also restaurants. They also have kitchens. Okay, I understand alcohol may not be available for reasons of safety, for moral reasons, I think. But what about the places? Can they operate as kitchens? Can they operate as a restaurant? Would anybody be able to help you with this?
Chef, unless and until the license has been reissued or they are allowed to operate, they cannot operate. Because this is not because of any foodborne or liquor-borne illness. It is just social distancing. The pubs, I don't think it is easy for them to open the pubs. Yes, as you said, the drinks need to be served via Swiggy or something, but I don't think it is possible in our country. Food definitely, because it is not a foodborne illness. It's not closed. Restaurants are not closed. Only they can sell the takeaway. They can work on takeaways, but they are not allowed to run as a restaurant.
Chef Kaushik will also check that with the doctor. So from the government point of view, what opinion they have, so we can get back to you on that.
Correct.
Okay. So any question from the audience? We'll take one or two questions from the audience. because the next section is going to be very interesting because a lot of people complain or be in a stressed state where Mr. Nandakumar, who is a wellness mentor, has coached a lot of entrepreneurs, business people. He's going to give a motivation speech. So any questions? Maybe we'll take one or two questions. Bank
I see a lot of questions.
Yeah,
sorry, Ramesh. I saw a lot of questions. Maybe if you can just take a look at it and go sequentially from when they asked, because I had some relevant questions that I think we should go sequentially and answer.
So there is one question from Mr. Prasad R. How is the order taking and ordering models going to change for the standalone restaurant? Is it going to be a challenge having many resources?
I can answer that if you want.
Please, Chef, go ahead.
See, earlier order taking was on a traditional menu card. Okay, and yes, it has to completely change because that is the most important feature where we can transfer a virus. Okay, so it is, like I said, there are multiple formats. Either you send a PDF of the menu to your consumer. Okay, maybe they can order on Zomato or any of these platforms before they actually come and sit down. Okay, maybe there can be a slate, low tech, low cost, a slate or whatever, put up a board with the menu where you can see what is being done. There are low cost solutions, there are tech solutions. Okay, but let us take it for granted. Having a menu card, a bill folder, a feedback folder, a feedback form is not going to be acceptable in the future. So these are things that the customer touches. We should not be having this. And like Doctor said very clearly, I mean, so many of us have on our table, we have a napkin holder, salt, pepper. All of these are actually hubs for holding the virus. I don't think we should have anything on the table. And as the consumer sits down, we should probably have hygiene, sanitation, solution put on the table and a wipe. And then they can place the order and move forward.
Correct.
Chef Jugesh, with respect to air conditioning of the restaurant, there is one question. What is the temperature to be maintained, and is it advisable to run the restaurant with air conditioning? What steps should be taken?
As far as my knowledge is concerned, the air condition is a difficult scene at present. It's because if one guest has virus and you have a common air condition, then it can spread very fast. So at home you can work on air condition, but not in public area. That's the reason the malls are closed. There's no other reason for malls and the buses and the air conditioned buses or air conditioned trains are closed, just because with air condition it's become difficult. It spreads very fast.
Thank you.
That's why I said, open air restaurants are better than the air conditioned restaurants.
Okay. Any other inputs or any suggestion from the panelists before we move on to the next topic? Yes, Mr. Bala.
Yeah, I would like to add on few points for standalone restaurants. I feel since it is not foodborne and it is more about personal hygiene and the environmental hygiene, I think the awareness with the staffs of the existing standalone restaurants and small restaurants, it is not that high when it compared to bigger hotels or a star hotel. So I think before opening a restaurant, all the staffs has to be highly educated with the kind of practice that they need to be following, because most of them coming from a different background or not with a very clear hygiene practice. They have to be well educated with the hygiene practice, the kind of new hygiene procedures that they need to follow in future, or at least for the near future, so that they don't contaminate the environment of the kitchen, or they don't contaminate the restaurant or the pastry shop or the food products or the environment where they are working in. And I think as owners of the restaurants, they need to seriously govern the movement of the staffs. At least they should be given a basic pick up drop from the owner side, and they should be monitored constantly or at least once in a while in the CCTV camera that whether they are practicing, they are the kind of people who are okay to work in the restaurants and things like that. And more of the hygiene standard chemicals like KMNO4 or 50 ppm chlorine, all those Suma tablets, all those things have to be brought into restaurants, because I only see that in a very serious hotels and high class restaurants. Even a smaller restaurants with a very small team of staffs, I think should practice really high hygiene standard when it comes to sanitizing their knives or cutting boards. They should have a tub with 50 ppm chlorine in it, or they should wash their hands in KMNO4 or soap regularly. And this practice has to be brought, and this awareness is very important even for a smaller restaurant. And it's high time the restaurant owners get educated themselves with these kind of practice, and then they educate their staff on a constant basis. And this has to be regularly done so that they refresh their mind and they rejuvenate their hygiene practice on a constant basis.
Thank you, Chef Bala. Chef Jugesh, would you like to conclude and with the tips that you are given? Would you like to conclude the panel, Chef?
One last thing before that. Sorry to keep interrupting. Chef Bala was mentioning KMNO4 and all that. There are issues with KMNO4. Potassium permanganate is not necessarily what it used to be. So I think the best way is that if you can reach out to Parikshit, Dr. Pashupati, or the FSSAI guidelines. They are coming up with syllabus and they are nominating people to become the COVID warrior of the respective field. So the right training, the right chemicals are very, very important.
Can I just add one point?
Yeah, please.
Yes, Shani ma'am.
I request to all of you in the hospitality industry. I know you're all going through a lot of stress, and all of you are so gifted, so talented. The skills that you have, please take care of your personal health also. Long work hours, not sleeping properly, not eating on time. You're busy serving others, and this is the best time that nature has given. During the lockdown, make sure that you're eating healthy and exercising, getting adequate sleep. And I think that's my humble request to all of you, because anyone who comes to a particular city, they'll always go and check out the best restaurant and try to eat that particular dish, which is the signature dish of that city. And you're all contributors across India. You're like brand ambassadors. You are the face of that city. And my humble request is all of you, please take care of your health. Thank you.
Very well said,
Thank you.
Shani ma'am. That's wonderful. Yes, Chef Jugesh.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists. All the words were golden words, right from Pashupati to Mr. Kaushik or Harsha, yourself, or Chef Ramesh, or it was a great session. And again, I repeat, the countries, we are all under a war, and all the warriors are fighting. The doctors are important for us. Unfortunately, there is no vaccine availability now. The only way to control it is by the distance or keeping ourselves quarantined. So request all to take care of themselves, as doctor said now. Even Shani said that you have to take care of yourself. Immunity level is very important. You have to eat well, eat healthy, try to make food at home. We are hoteliers, but still we request you to make food at home, prepare yourself till the market is safe. I don't think it is going to last for long, and definitely India will fight back soon and will come up with the flying colors again, and all the restaurants and other things will do really well. And India is going to open as a big market now. People are going to go away from China, and India is going to grow better than anything in the world. And the future of our country is bright, I think. And all are playing to God. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chef.
So we'll hear from Mr. Nandakumar, the wellness mentor. Just give us little motivation. I think Shani ma'am conclusion of expecting the food, and Chef Jugesh that India is going to bounce back. We are already motivated. So let's hear a little more motivation.
Exactly. So I think exactly. I was about to say that I don't have a job here because the panelists were so positive and so energetic and so positive, and the way you have seen the industry itself, the way you're talking about the industry is so very good and motivating that seriously I really don't know what to motivate them. So thank you very much, Ramesh, and all the panelists for giving me this opportunity. Very, very quickly, without taking much of your time, let me bring certain aspects of wellness here, as well as when I say wellness, I take care of the wellness of people as well as the companies where they work. So it is relating to your organization also. The point what I want to leave you with is fundamentally about three aspects. I want to use the word ACT. If you can allow me to say that, ACT are the three things which I want to talk about. So this is a time when this industry has to act. And for this industry to act, when I say ACT, I'm going to talk about three acronyms. A stands for attitude. Now this is a time you are playing a game. Now we all mentioned it as a war, but I want to call it as a game. And when you play a game, there are 4 ways of playing the game. The first aspect is refusing to play. You say that I have been in this industry for quite a long time. I know that things are going to come back to normalcy. I'm not going to do anything new. And so saying that I'm not willing to accept that things are going to change here. And so refusing to play. That's the first way of playing. This I'm addressing to all the industry people here. The first way of playing is refusing to play. The second aspect is you pretend to play. You know that a lot of people are talking about you attend seminars, workshops, everything, but mentally you still are not ready. You are not saying that there is a new normal here. You are saying that things will come back to the old normal. And so what you do, you don't have the conviction inside you. So you pretend to play. You do things because others are doing. You do something because your competitor is doing. So only that makes you do things. So since you don't have the conviction inside you, you are not playing the game properly. The third is playing to lose. Playing not to lose. What is playing not to lose? You are very defensive. You want to be a very, very safe player, and you don't want to take any kind of risk or chances. You might drop at the drop of a hat, you may check out your employees, but you may not be thinking about retaining them and changing their culture or doing things. So you become a person who plays for not losing. And the fourth is playing to win. So that is the kind of attitude that is needed today by the industry. You need to play to win. I would always ask you to go back and Ramesh, there is some number, this one which is disturbing. I think it is from somewhere. I'll mute Chef Kaushik. I think the sound is coming from there, air or wind, for some time. I think now the sound is okay. So the fourth is playing to win. If you play to win, you are already in a positive mode, and you're saying that I'm going to take on this game. I'm going to take on this challenge. I always say people don't use the word problem in your life. You always use the word challenge. When you say problem, you're always facing the problem, and the problem will always be bigger than you. But the moment you say I'm facing a challenge, it is always overcoming. I want to overcome the challenge is the word which will come. So never in your vocabulary, to all these industry leaders here, remove the word problem from your vocabulary and start using the word challenge. And once you do that, you start playing the game to win. So the attitude of having a positive mental attitude in terms of playing this game to win is very, very important during this time. That's the first thing I want to tell you with. The second aspect is your conviction. C stands for conviction. What is the conviction? First, you must be convinced about yourself. As Shiny ma'am was telling, it is very, very important to take care of yourself first. And remember that you and your company or organization are not two different things. They are not two different things. The business owner, whether it is a small panwala or whether it is a big hotel owner or whether it is a restaurant owner, your energy represents the energy of the organization. And so you need to be fully convinced that you need to be highly dynamic and positive. And I want you to go back and remember the day when you started your business. The startup mentality you had. At that time, you had a lot of courage and you were ready. You were not afraid of failure. And that was the time when you started and said, let me go ahead and build a name for myself in this business. And that's how you all came here. And so I want you to go back to that startup mindset of yours and have the courage and conviction to face these adversities. And also here, look at what are your strengths. As many of the panelists spoke about, I also see a situation where you might have to reduce your menu items, you might have to bring down on your buffet, you might have to reduce a lot of things. But then how will people come to you? You need to work on your strengths. What are you good at? What can you be specialized in? and what can your name get associated with? How can you brand yourself in a particular category or in a particular variety? Like as we were talking, like immunity foods or anything, natural foods, organic foods. These are things which are going to become more popular. Or whatever you have today, how is that you are going to brand certain products or certain foods in your own business which are niche? And so a customer who is going to walk in, the number of people who are going to walk in are going to be lesser. That's what we spoke, but they will choose to come to you than going to somebody else. So that is your conviction which is needed, and your energy is very, very important. The energy what you send down to your employees is what is going to change or transform the organization. The third aspect is taking action. You need to take action now. So ACT, attitude, conviction, and T is for taking action. You will definitely have to remodel your business. We were talking about new normal. And if you don't remodel your business, there is going to be a definite chance that you will not be seen in the market at all. Look at the story of Nokia, look at the story of Kodak, and many of these companies are there for us because they were not willing to change. And just because they were not willing to change, they all lost the competition. So this is a time when you have to remodel your business. You need to look at how can I rework my business model so that it can fit the new normal. Most of the panelists have given us a lot of ideas and suggestions. And I think there is a lot of takeaway from this session. Some of the few points which I wanted to add was, you have the men, money, and material. These are the three things which we all handle. And out of which, the man is going to be the most important person. Your employees are going to be the most valuable assets for you today. They are going to be the most valuable assets. So what you need to look at is, they are going to be the key. They are the people who are interfacing with your customers. They are the people who are giving the customer experience. And so they are going to take your brand to the customer. So you need to take care of them. It's very, very important that as business owners today, you need to take care of your employees. So how are you going to upskill them? But all of them, this is a time when all of them may not fit into the new normal. They may not be fitting into your new modeled business. So you need to upskill them, you need to reskill them, and you need to cross-skill them. So upskilling, reskilling, and cross-skilling your employees might be one of the most important tasks which you might have to do now. And you have to definitely do that because men are important. Then comes material, then comes your productivity, or it is always people, products, and then productivity. So people first, the man first. The second is you might require to automate. Now, I would definitely suggest that you need to adopt as much of technology as possible to automate your business so that there is less of touch points with customers. Just as we were speaking, you said pre-order, Mr. Chef Kaushik was telling, pre-order and come so that we will know how many people are coming to eat the food. So make use of technology. I think Ramesh is an excellent person here. He has got products which will help the industry. So you need to automate and use technology. The third is identify your niche. Again, Mr. Kaushik, Chef Kaushik also mentioned about it. You need to identify your niche and also work on your niche. Today, the saying is, they are not talking about a broad category of things here. They say identify your market, which is 1 square inch, and go 1 mile deep. So that is what I would like to have our people also think here. What is that 1 square inch of market space you want to target? And can you go 1 mile deep in that? So look at all the areas where you can play a niche game and become a specialist in that particular area. Financial reconstructing definitely is an important thing. You might have to construct your finances. You might have to relook at your financial model. And so definitely you need to spend time on financial reconstruction. And lastly, social media. Most of the clients or the people who are going to, your customers are going to be in the social media. How are you going to leverage social media in terms of rebuilding your brand and showing to people that you are safe? It is safe to come to you to eat. So the one area what you want to definitely, maybe we are all new to that area. We may not be as good and skilled today, but I think definitely we need to bring the skill inside us to target social media and use social media for branding and giving that confidence to customers. That is the best place to give confidence to customers, to say, hey, my restaurant is a good place for you to come and eat. And what else you have today other than social media, which can create viral messages, which can create viral news, and areas like Instagram where you can, your photos of your pictures itself goes viral. So that is something which I want to leave you with, to think about and see whether how you can use today's technology and social media to take action. So taking action is very, very important. Now, since we are already crossing time, I'm not spending too much time on this. So in order to summarize, 3 aspects: the hotel industry needs to act now, and acting is have the right and positive attitude, have the strongest conviction that all of us are going to bounce back better than the previous times. The pre-COVID is not going to be post-COVID. Post-COVID, we are all going to be better. We are going to create a country which is going to have much, much more hygienic food and safe food for everybody, because food is something which is very, very essential. And the third is taking action. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Ramesh. Let me quickly wrap up with this few sentences. And if any of you want any of my services or more to discuss on this, I'm always available. Ramesh can connect with me. Thank you so much for this quick wrap up.
Thank you, Nandakumar sir. I think it's more further giving us interest and motivation. So will all of us take it and rethink about our strategies. So we'll help when we'll work with our employees. So thank you for the wonderful inputs to this industry. With this, I really thank all the panelists. Chef Jugesh, thank you for accepting the last minute and giving a wonderful inputs, and also validation to the industry how the buffet system can come back, because the government says don't do it, and you are saying there is an opportunity to do it because there is a huge business for the outdoor catering and the buffet market. So it's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you, Chef Jugesh. And Chef Bala and Kaushik, thank you for your time. Very well thought about how the food and hygiene needs to be done. And Shaini ma'am has given a new concept, new thoughts of how the innovation can happen in the restaurant industry. Thank you for that. Thank you, Arshaji. Thank you, everybody. And thank you all participants spending this time, and a few questions coming from all of you. Thank you very much. This will conclude this meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ramesh, I think our contact information should be shared to everybody. So if they want to get in touch, I think all of us are very, very happy to spend some time with them. And I want to thank you for this great initiative. It's just that I wish we could speak for a lot longer. Maybe we should do it later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A big hand to Ramesh.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay blessed.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you.